We are tonight's entertainment.
You can't handle the truth.
The fire rises.
Pizza time.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So it begins.
You know how much I sacrificed?
You think that's air you're breathing?
Groovy.
I don't have friends. I got family.
We are Sex People! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Craft Services.
Hey, Trent.
Hi, Parth.
Good to see you.
You too. You're looking well. We have a film podcast.
You're looking well as well. What have you been eating most recently?
Have you ever, I was wondering, eaten something and then you were like, oh, that'd be good to talk about on the show where that happens to be a topic of discussion. And then you're hungry, but you're like, I better hold off because there's a bit more conversational value in what I just had compared to what I want to eat next.
And the problem is I think we pride ourselves on being honest about what we just had. It's truly what we just had, not just what we found most interesting.
Truly. And I'm holding myself to that standard. And for that reason, I'm hungry during this podcast. But do you still want to know?
Oh, Trent, I'm dying to know.
What I thought was so interesting, I'm on this hunger strike campaign. I've been eating a lot of cornflakes for breakfast, which is pretty bland, but I like it. But I like it. Well, Wheaties are actually the breakfast of champions, believe.
Fuck.
But the funny thing that I thought I could share that most people already know is that the inventor was really religious and he thought bland food would...
I remember the stop masturbation.
Yeah, it would stop people from masturbating.
I remember this.
And I like cornflakes. So,
And
but they are bland.
How you feeling?
I can report from the front lines, no major effects.
No?
In any department of my life. That's all I'll
That's
say.
good to know.
But a healthy breakfast that helps me get the day started. So if that's not a sales pitch, I don't know what it is. Parth, I don't want to talk about that anymore, really, ever again.
No?
What about you?
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, Trent's mom. Hi, Trent's dad. Well, last night, some of my college friends came over, or I should really say Sophia's college friends. They're from TC&J, whereas I and Trent went to Rutgers. But they stayed...
Parth, our bio on Spotify still says
that we're Rutgers students.
Rutgers film students, and it should say like X or graduate
or just like filmmakers.
Or something.
Yeah, or we just put or something instead.
But go Scarlet Knights, but resume.
But anyways, we were all hanging out, and then one of my in my new apartment, so my roommate Tom, his girlfriend Emily was here, and they were saying, I could go for some soup. And then Sophia, my roommate now, good friend, she said that she could also go for some soup. And so she got some miso soup and sushi from this place that's like 5 minutes away from us. And I had, I believe, salmon avocado, spicy tuna, and then shrimp avocado. I think that was the flavors that I got, and it was delicious.
So is this Sophia Alexis, your good friend, now roommate? Is that the one from the Gone Girl discussion episode?
Gone Girl discussion, the 7 Mission Impossible episodes that we...
The very same?
Out. Yeah, the very same.
You two have been spending a lot of time together.
I know. I think we might be very good friends by the end of business.
By the end of the business day. Speaking of getting down to business, Parth.
Yes. Well, Trent, don't you feel kind of hot? Don't you feel like you just want to get...
Parth, we've long joked about the naked pod, or dare I say the shirtless pod.
It's true, yeah. Should we just jump the gun, jump the shark, go straight to the naked pod? Or should we just jump the gun to the intro? Welcome back to Craft Services, where we talk about the movies. Each week we talk about a film and hopefully have a crew member of that film to talk with us about their experience working on the picture. This week, who do we have, Trent?
Brandon Trost, director of photography of our film this week, The Naked Gun.
Sure. And it'd be a shame if he DP'd like almost every good-looking studio comedy of the past like 15 years. It would really be a shame.
And as soon as the interview starts, we'll say this again, but like, it'd be a shame to not. This is the end. One of our favorite films here on the podcast, Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Yep.
He directed An American Pickle,
starring Seth Rogen, dude.
Yeah, he's in good with the Seth Rogen crew, in good with the Lonely Island boys,
and those are good people to be good with.
In Good Company. gave a great interview. Hey, Brendan Trost, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for being a cool guy. Great work. Great DP.
Great interview, honestly.
Great interview. Great man. Great soul.
We could see into, how they say eyes are the windows of the soul, and because we see each other, on camera, we were able to see his soul, and it's looking pretty good, gotta say.
Through the windows to the soul, his eyes.
Mm-hmm. And this pod is sort of the window through which you have to go through to get to this interview. So why don't we cue the interview? Hello, everybody, and welcome to our interview with Brandon Trost. He's the cinematographer behind such films as The Interview, Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping, Night Bitch, and our film for today, Akiva Schaffer's The Naked Gun. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Just to start off, could you just talk about when you first wanted to become a cinematographer? Like, when did you first know?
I think I've known I wanted to be a DP since I was like 16 years old. I grew up on sets with my dad as a kid. My dad does special effects, and so I kind of came up with him, doing that through my whole youth. I mean, and that was in that way I really kind of just discovered. I've never not known movie sets, I guess you could say. So I've always sort of been around them with just my family, and I've always loved it. I've always loved movies. And I think that being dragged to sets as a kid only makes it even more attractive because you just kind of see how it's all made and what the process is. It's so fun and attractive. Like as a kid, it's what I've always wanted to do. I mean, at the time, I thought I wanted to do effects like my dad. My dad was the one who I think smartly started to sway me toward being a cinematographer because I think he saw that I liked and loved movies so much that even as a kid, I would kind of dissect them and make our own films and do all this stuff. I think he recognized that I might have more of an eye for just a little more creative control in terms of making movies. So he brought it up as an idea. I was like, oh, I'll look into it. And I sort of realized he was right, and I started going down that path. And it's what I knew I wanted to do since then. So I went straight to film school right out of high school, directly into the LA Film School, which was basically like a trade school at the time. You can get a degree there now, but it was more of a 10-month long, intensive workshop basically. And for me, it was great. It was perfect. It was like everything I needed. It just kind of spearheaded me in that trajectory, I guess, just making movies. I shot a lot of stuff that wasn't very great. I learned on a lot of things. And over time, I eventually just started getting more and more practice and eventually got bigger and better jobs after saying yes to everything for many years until that finally happened. But yeah, that's my long-winded approach to saying I wanted to be a DP since I was a kid.
Speaking of that, what would you consider like your first big break of your career?
I mean, it would have to be Crank 2. High Voltage. It was my first studio movie. I had shot a lot up until that point. I mean, I did a lot of smaller indie movies, a lot of different genres, lots of different films. I mean, like I said, I would say yes to everything. Some good, some bad. But I made a lot of friends along the way. And, Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor from the Crank franchise, who I would then go on to do Ghost Rider 2 with as well. They were friends from film school. We all went to school together. So they actually tried to get me on the first Crank, but I'd never shot a studio movie. It was their first feature. They had just done a bunch of commercials that were very interesting and attractive. And, I met with Lakeshore. They were like, you're just like a 24-year-old kid who hasn't shot a studio movie. Why would we hire you to shoot a film for these directors that haven't been tested and just, heighten our risk? And I was like, well, you're right, but I could do it. And it didn't happen. Ultimately, they hired somebody else. But Mark and Brian stuck it out for me for part 2, and that got my foot in the door, and that weirdly allowed me to just start taking other meetings, and it was kind of like off and running down the studio path. I mean, smaller studio films to start, but that was a real stepping stone. And then I would say weirdly, my next real stepping stone was a few movies later. It was MacGruber, the SNL film, because that movie really launched what would begin kind of my comedy career. I've shot a lot of different genres and all kinds of different stuff, but I feel like that, I've done so much more in the comedy world, since then. But all of that was in service to making comedies look like whatever genre of movie we were like spoofing or trying to be a parody of, or trying to just let our comedies exist in a certain style of movie. And in MacGruber's sense, it was like an old school 80s action movie. We wanted that to be part of a character of the movie in an unrelenting sort of way. And it kind of became part of the joke itself that the movie looked like an 80s action film. And a lot of people in the comedy world responded to that and liked the way it looked. And I started sneaking my way into different comedy groups. Seth Rogen and that gang became a big one. So yeah, I guess I sort of answered it in two parts, but I feel like those two movies really kind of kicked things off for me.
Parth and I are both 24 now, and the thought of being in consideration to shoot a studio movie is absolutely inconceivable.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I was 26 when I did Crank 2.
Oh, that's fine. Then we're fine. So we got 2 years.
You were fully prepared.
Oh my
Your
God.
brain was fully formed.
It was. But to be fair, I feel like I was. I had shot a shitload of movies at that point, and a bunch of shorts and music videos, and I had been, at that point, just shooting nonstop for however many years it was since I got out of film school. So I definitely prepared for the opportunity, but it came along and I ran with it.
With the MacGruber, sort of the Lonely Island connection there, and then can you talk about your relationship with Akiva Schaffer and when you first heard rumblings of a Naked Gun reboot and when that was sort of on your radar?
Yes. So I knew that, I knew that Keith was talking about the movie, I want to say probably for like a year or so before we even talked about making it together. I was doing, I was shooting Night Bitch, I think, when they were first talking about it. And it's interesting how, Night Bitch, it's like Night Bitch has the connection with Jorma Taccone because Marielle Heller is married to Jorma, and of course Jorma is within Lonely Island. So it's like it's all very familial with these movies that we do. But I remember talking with him about Naked Gun then. He was talking about making Naked Gun with Liam Neeson. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. That sounds like perfect casting. Like I couldn't even imagine anyone better. And then I went off to go shoot Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And
similar films,
very similar, kind of the same kind of movie. So straight from Night Bitch to Sonic the Hedgehog. While I was doing that, it was really coming together fast. It was like, I think it was going to be tricky because I was rapping at a certain time, and it meant that my prep time was going to be truncated on Naked Gun. But he was of the mind that because we've worked together before. We did Pop Star together also, even though he was directing that with Jorma. We're all friends. We've done stuff together. I've done Lonely Island, music videos and stuff with those guys. So I think the thought that was that because we have the shorthand, I could manage 5 weeks and we could handle putting Naked Gun together. And the truth was we could. And it's very much like, Naked Gun for us was sort of like carrying the torch of MacGruber in a way stylistically, whereas MacGruber had a very 80s kind of like Simpson Bruckheimer kind of like style, for what we wanted it to be. We wanted Naked Gun to be a little more of like a 90s action movie, which was just like a little bit more elevated, kind of pushing it more like almost like more Jan de Bont style, than what we were doing with MacGruber, but still kind of cut from a similar cloth. So it's a fun style. I love doing it. I love that type of shooting. I love those types of movies. Those were all my favorite movies growing up. So it's kind of a second nature sort of like approach for us to make it feel that way, just based out of love for those kinds of movies. But yeah, so we talked about Naked Gun while I was in the UK making Sonic 3, and then I had been in the UK for a year and a half because it was Sonic 3 and also the Knuckles TV series. It was like a spin-off series we did together. And I flew directly from London to Atlanta without even going home, just to start prep for Naked Gun. So we went right into it. It was a whiplash coming from VFX hedgehogs right into just slapstick Liam Neeson with a gun. It's pretty funny, but great. I don't know. I'm such a Naked Gun fan too. It's just kind of a dream come true.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. Akiva Schaffer has said like those original films are sort of spoofing 50s, 60s era movies, and then this is obviously like, I think Tomorrow Never Dies was sort of the big touch point that he's talked about. Was there any utility in looking at those older movies in any way, other than obviously they're very funny, but like, was there, because you're passing this torch, is there any utility in looking at that?
Oh yeah, we we went through, a handful of different films and a lot of like screen grabs that Akiva had put together for us to sort of use as like a kind of visual Bible, for how we wanted to put this movie together. Tomorrow Never Dies was a big one. That was, it had this real specific look that at the time it came out was very big budget, a very high quality action movie. It was very well made. There's just a real film tone to it that I think that with modern action movies you don't really feel as much anymore, because we have better tools to make movies now. It's like through digital, there's all these different styles and tones you can do through grading. It's like you didn't really have a DI back then, so you couldn't really tweak stuff in any sort of real stylized way other than what your film stock could give you in your lenses. And we really wanted to lean into that style. I think I selected the same lenses that they shot Tomorrow Never Dies with, I went and, we also wanted to give this such an analog kind of nostalgic quality to it. We didn't shoot on film. We knew we were going to shoot digital, but we went to these great lengths to try to make it feel film-like. We scanned.
Was that ever a conversation shooting on film, or was that like a mandate not to, or?
It's, I don't know if it was a mandate not to. It's definitely more expensive. It costs more to shoot on film, and we were definitely redlining on the budget as it was. We ended up doing a film out for the movie where you scan it all to a negative and then regrade everything you scanned, which we always wanted to do. We knew that was a real look that we wanted for this movie, and we kind of built that style with Dave Cole, our colorist at Photochem, who did the same process with like Dune and like the Batman and stuff like that, where they filmed it all out. And you can do it to varying degrees, like, finer grain, heavier grain, there's all kinds of different sort of formulas you can use. But we landed on one that we thought really just kind of spoke to that sort of 90s vibe that fits the movie really well. So I think because we knew that was going to be like this finishing touch to the movie, we knew that we could shoot digital and get very close to that look. I mean, I knew we could. I mean, it's something that I feel like I do all the time and try to do well anyway. But I think that it has a real... That extra detail really gives it that nostalgic feeling that I think that we were after. As you get actual gate weave, you get real photochemical grain. Each frame has its own sort of like almost flicker within the alchemy of the grain itself. It's something that's really hard to emulate digitally. So yeah, between using the kind of older anamorphic Panavision lenses and this process, that was one element. That's just kind of like the backbone of our just technology. But we used lots of long lenses. I used lots of hard lighting. I used lots of smoke. I used lots of, wet downs. Like, just if we're ever outside at night, everything's just wet. It's like it's all these like sort of tropes from all of these movies that I grew up on and love. And it's all stuff that I still use today in other films because I just like the look and how it works. But it was just kind of like our rule book. These are all, we always work backwards from using all of these different things. I mean, we referenced a lot of like LA noir movies. I mean, Tony Scott was a big one for us too. Like specifically, Beverly Hills Cop 2 was one. We liked that kind of. There's like a warm, sort of smoky LA look from the 80s that we just really dig. It's like lots of shafts of light, lots of shadows from Venetian blinds on walls, stuff like that. We were really building into it, and I tried to put like a little more of like almost a film noir touch to it at times. Particularly with Nielsen. I mean, his face is so cool. It's like you can light that guy with hard light and he just looks amazing. Like he just has like such a old classic movie star presence to him. And Pam Anderson as well. She's great. Like I feel like she really shines in this movie in such a special way. The two of them together are fabulous. But yeah, so that was just sort of our starting point, getting all those things together, and then we would just always approach it photographically like it's not a comedy. That's really kind of the main. That's how you sort of begin every conversation, and then you still have to get the jokes in there though too. So you have to find ways to build in like your sight gags, stuff that's just within the frame that isn't even addressed by the characters, but you want to see something specifically, like
cold cases.
I was going to say the cold cases one specifically. That's funny, but yeah, just like that. It's like cold cases. It just is a room that says cold cases, and it's a guy wearing a parka coming out of like a fridge holding a file box. It's just that kind of stupidity that we really have to leave room for. I mean, one of my favorite gags in the movie is when after they've investigated the car and they bring in the crane to come pick up the car, and it's just like it's like a claw machine, from an arcade game, and that was like that was we built that for real too. That was a real practical gag that we did. And that was something else that we did that we really wanted to lean into and rely on, was just actual physical practical gags, as much as possible, just to be true to the spirit of Naked Gun. It was always so much that it was just like, you're really seeing a lot of this big elaborate stuff happen in the frame. I mean, gosh, I just love, it's as simple as like when Leslie Nielsen shows up at like a dock and like he like pulls his car up and knocks a fisherman off into the water, and then like he gets out like nothing happened, and then like continues on with the scene. It's like those types of those moments is just a fun, just like attitude for the movie. I know that we were shooting this sequence with Liam driving, when he's driving along like PCH, and it's like this, it's this shot that moves around of the windshield as he's driving, and then like someone just reaches in with a coffee cup and just hands it to him through his window. And we didn't plan that necessarily. It was just that we were doing this. We were using an LED wall to shoot that, so it was like we were doing it all on stage anyway. We just realized how silly that moment can be, and that was just like an idea that was thrown in there, right at the last second, just leaning into that coffee gag. And that's also what's fun too. It's like we try so much stuff, and that's also part of it. For every joke you see in the movie, we probably tried 3 or 4 or 5 different versions of either that joke or something similar to it, just to see what plays the best. And that's how it all gets put together. We'll put together and test it and see which ones get the most laughs, or what thread we want to lean on the most. It's really a unique process. It's not easy either. That's also part of what I like about working on comedies, is that I find them I feel like to make a really good comedy, it's harder to do than making a drama, to that end, because it really is something that's so it's so like fluid and instinctive, but there's also a real like formula to it. There's like a mathematical process to like the setup and payoff of a joke, and how to sell that well. And for us, oftentimes it's selling it within the frame and not even doing it with a line, so that's what's a fun challenge, with this whole type of movie.
Well, that speaks to my next question, just about if you could talk about, you've worked extensively together, but if you could talk about Akiva Schaffer's directing style on this and in general.
Gosh, well, Akiva he's a very exacting director, I would say. He's incredibly smart and a very capable filmmaker. He can be so specific, but also is very much willing to kind of grasp like the best idea within the moment to try to push that forward and just elevate whatever we can. He's very engaged in every department in terms of like what he wants and what he wants to say exactly, what he wants something to look like, how he wants to set up a joke specifically, and what he needs to get there. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about working with him, to be honest, it is because he has such a specific point of view for what he wants. When we collaborate together, I feel like we're just sort of leveling it up every step of the way, with that kind of attitude, with that kind of like, I'd say even work ethic. It's fun. It's really like it's a real. It's like we're working in this real like elevated comedy space, an elevated level of filmmaking, but it's also just so damn stupid at the same time. So it's like it's really fun just to be a part of that, from an outside perspective. But it's like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. But it's at this point we've also worked together so much. It's kind of like making something with your friends, So it's there's that kind of like shorthand that we have, and also just our similarities and just taste in movies we like and stuff it's for years. It's like we would always, even if we're not making a movie, like it'll either be he or Yorm or Andy or all the guys, and we'll get together and just like watch like some kind of big dumb B movie, because it's like just a fun thing to do, and get together and just like have drinks and enjoy these films just for all of their everything. And I think that sort of inspired love of these kinds of movies. It has always been something that has connected all of us, because we all just like the same dumb shit, I guess. It's fun.
Welcome back to Craft Services, where we talk about... Oh. Whoa.
What the hell just happened?
I short-circuited. No, hey Parth, how's it going? End of part 1. You feeling good?
I'm feeling great.
Wait, we should call it part fun. Because,
very good.
cause that was fun.
Part gun?
Remember
Part naked gun.
Part naked gun. I thought you were going more in the joke you made a few weeks ago about about James Gunn.
Oh, about James Gunn? No. This was all about The Naked Gun, which I think one of my favorite films of the year so far. A good time at the theaters. I've seen it twice now.
I saw it twice now. I laughed with my fellow theater goers, and I hate to say it, you don't get to do that very often. Parth is holding up a poster or a promotional print that says that is Liam Neeson extending his finger, and it says, "I want you to pull my finger." I think that's something of a fart joke. I believe, if I remember correctly, I overheard a conversation between you and your very good friend Sophia Alexis.
Sure.
Where you were expressing a very small amount of frustration over the fact that she vetoed you hanging up that poster in your apartment. And to her, I say I have to completely agree with her, because we need to, like, we owe them 1,000 lifetimes for letting our partners let us hang movie posters of interest in our shared spaces. But The Naked Gun, I want you to pull my finger poster
is a step too far.
Is one step too far. Parth, you have a Batman and like a Dark Knight poster. Like,
not
what more do
hanging
you
up
want?
here. Not hanging up here. See, here's the thing. When we moved to this apartment, I had instituted I had like a Spider-Man 2 poster, I had Harry Potter poster, I had the Batman poster, a Top Gun poster, Mission Impossible poster, and I was like, all right, I have the bedroom of a little boy.
Childhood's over.
Kind of. And I was like, all right, I think it's time. And Sophia was like, no, I mean, you could hang stuff up. And I was like, I don't think you want me hanging up the stuff. And so she thinks that I'm being more weird about hanging up the posters than she is. But I brought home the Naked Gun poster, and I brought one home for my brother as well, because I knew he would like it. And she went, no. You're telling me that you don't want to hang up your Harry Potter poster, but you do want to hang up the Naked Gun, I want you to pull my finger poster. And it was only when she said that I realized how ridiculous of a request I was making. But I did actually find a good place that I can hang it up. Trent, when you came
What's
over,
the place?
When you came over to my apartment, Trent, for reference, lives in Brooklyn, whereas I live in Highland Park, a sort of less desirable location, but cheaper and with more space. And when you came to my apartment, you were sort of aghast by the amount of closets that I had, because it sort of pissed you off, because you said, what do you even need that closet for? I think sort of out of a sense of frustration of the lack of space that Brooklyn can provide.
Yes, I was proud and I liked your new space, and good for you. But I believe you had like
we have 4 closets.
4 closets, 2 of which basically exist for no reason.
Well, one is like a coat closet and one is a linen closet. Now, I bring up the linen closet because
we're 24. What linens do you have?
Who is opening up the linen closet except for the people that live in the house? No one, really. You know what can go on the door on the inside of the linen closet?
It's like a little secret.
I want you to pull my finger, and it fits. It's decor, Trent. So I'm thinking I'm going to put that up there.
Parth, I think that will make your house a home.
Yeah?
It's the little things.
That's good to know. I'm glad you approve.
Let's see. I wonder how many. Take a wild guess at how many closets my apartment has.
2.
1. We have 1 shared closet.
Oh, do you not have a closet?
No, the both bedrooms share a closet, and it happens to be in my room.
Is it a walk-in?
No.
Oh, it's in your room?
It's in my room.
So,
have
like,
both
your
closets.
roommates hang up, your roommates, a couple, hang up their clothes?
And they rarely come in, and they just, like, grab the things they need, and then, keep it in a less permanent situation on their floor or something. But it is truly insane. And Parth and I are basically paying.
I wish I could donate a closet to you.
Because you don't need one, and we could use one so serious,
Yeah.
So bad.
But you know what the audience does need? Is closure.
Part 2 of the Brandon Trost interview.
Exactly.
I couldn't agree more. Want to know what else they need to do?
I hope it's, go to all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, so that they can see updates.
Stay updated, Craft Services Podcast. Give us a follow. Like our stuff.
Because it'll let them know when the episodes go up on every podcast streaming platform, Apple Podcast, Spotify.
So the episodes come out every Sunday at 5 a.m.
On the dot.
And where you can listen to them is... Did you say this already?
Yeah.
Oh, well, just listen back. If you want to know where you can listen, just go back. Like 10
rewind.
seconds.
Hit the back 15 seconds button.
Parth said it already, but also take into account you're listening to the podcast as we speak. So just tune in again here would be fine as well.
Yeah.
Parth, I was talking to people. I went to see my friend's band who I've known for a couple years last night. And here's my impression of them. Oh my God, you have a podcast? It's funny when you know people for a long time and it's just coming out.
Yeah. And it's a thing you've been doing for like 5 years.
And they're like, what? It's like a film
So like, do you
podcast?
like talk to people or like what?
And then they make me like say what it's called. And I feel like
I
I'm
know.
basically like...
And then do you ever hate when they like are like, wait, I want to look it up right now. And you're like,
Wait, I like that. I'd rather than just them looking at me with their eyes.
that's interesting.
Giving-
I'm always in terror that they're going to start playing it in front of us or in front of me. And I'm going to have to listen to my own voice. Because I already listen to my own voice and having to edit these. And, you know, I've made my peace with that. But having to listen to your own voice in front of other people on a podcast where you're like, yeah, this is so cool that we do a podcast. That's sort of hell.
It's like being naked in the middle of the
It's
street.
like being the naked gun.
It's like being the naked gun. Okay, see you next week.
Bye, guys.